The thing that I want you to take home today, if you forget everything else, what I want you to be able to take home today is a method of operation that will allow you to take better photos right away. But it really means that you've got to switch your brain on, because most of you, I'll dare say that most of you are using your cameras in automatic mode, in the green mode or the green zone, and all you're doing is pointing and clicking. That really is, without offence, a brainless mode, because all you've got to do is decide where to point the camera and when to push the button. The camera is doing everything else for you. And quite often, more often than not, I find, because I'm quite fussy, it doesn't give you what you want. But in order for that sort of frustration to occur, you do have an idea of what you do want, I'm assuming. You know that old adage, if you aim for nothing, you'll probably get it. What I'm going to show you today is a way of thinking about different styles of photos, getting you to make a decision on what kind of photo you want, and then setting up the camera correctly to give you that result. So in order to start taking better photos right away, you actually have to know what you want in advance. These are the things we're going to cover. Very quickly, we're going to cover camera care, things that you need to know about looking after your camera, in particular your batteries and your lenses and your memory cards. I'm going to show you how better to hold your camera. Part of taking a good photo is being able to hold the camera nice and still. The method of operation using scene modes. Now the scene modes, I mean modes like portrait mode, landscape mode, sports mode, all those funny little symbols that you've got in your menu system or on your dial. And the last thing where I really want to spend more time, because this is perhaps more important to taking a good photo, is where do you point your camera? How do you compose a shot? And when do you push the button in order to, to make a good photo? What about this one? No? No? Yeah, a couple. That one? This one? No? No one's put their hand up yet. Oh, okay. Most people think this one. All right. That one was a trick question. None of them were taken with a professional camera. All of those photos were taken with this camera. I can't even remember what the model was, but it cost about $120, that camera. And I borrowed it from Ted's Cameras, thank you very much. And because I don't use those cameras ever, I thought if I'm going to do a talk on point and click, I better get one and see if I can actually take some good photos with it. All of these photos were taken with that camera, unedited, no Photoshop, straight out of the camera. So what's the point I'm trying to make? Does it actually make a difference what camera you've got to taking good photos? No. Even these photos, all of these photos were taken over the past 10 years. And only one of those shots in each example was taken with a professional camera. The rest were taken by point and clicks like this, or a bridge camera. Does anyone have a bridge camera here? Can you just hold your cameras up for me? All right, does anyone use a waterproof camera? No? Anyone thinking of getting one? It's probably a good idea. Well, let me just quickly cover an important point about waterproof cameras. They are waterproof as long as you look after them and you don't expect them to be invulnerable, because they're not invulnerable. Treat them gently and they will work as described. The main point being that the waterproof cameras have a door for the battery and the memory card, and there's a rubber seal which needs to be free of grit and dust in order to work properly. If there's even just a little bit of dust, that will let water in. So you must clean that every time you go underwater with it. The other thing that most people don't know about, and it is actually explained in most of the manuals, but how many people actually read the manual? I'm going to tell you rather than you read the manual, is that the thing that kills waterproof cameras is a sudden change in pressure. A sudden change in pressure. So if you've got a waterproof camera and you're doing bombies into the pool with it, that's a sudden change of pressure. Battery care. Most of you will have a camera that uses what's called a rechargeable lithium battery. They're the square battery that you put on the charger and you plug it in and charge it up. Some of the newer ones, you actually just plug the whole camera in and charge it up. Lithium batteries are not like the old rechargeable batteries where you have to fully exhaust the battery and then charge it back up. You don't have to do that with lithium batteries. In fact, they don't like it very much. They prefer top-up charges. So exhaust the battery halfway and charge it back up halfway. Exhaust it a little bit, charge it up a little bit. They prefer small top-up charges than to big charges. The number one thing, and I'm going to end on this because this is the main killer of lithium batteries, and I know we all do it. And this applies not only to camera batteries, but mobile phones, computers. If you leave the battery on charge overnight, how many of you have done that? Plug it in, forget it, pick it up in the morning. Let me tell you, if you do that even once, what should have been a 4-year battery will now be a 2-year battery. So how many times have you bought a phone and it works great for the first week? You didn't have to charge it for the whole week, but the next week it only lasts a couple of days, and then next month you have to charge it every day. And that shouldn't happen, but if you have left your charger on overnight, that will happen. Lens cleaning, in particular those of you with SLR cameras with different lenses, but to anyone who has a camera and you see a smudge on your lens, like you've touched it or sneezed on it or something like that, how many of you will pick up your camera, oh yucky, and go grab your shirt, go like that? Okay, believe me, that's fine, you can do that, but let's say just for a standard fingerprint, how many wipes of a shirt will get that off? 4 or 5, maybe 6 times to wipe it, to get it off? Well, let me tell you, if you use a microfiber cloth, the same cloth that you use to clean your glasses, it'll take 2 or 3 wipes to get the same smudge off. If you use one of these, it'll take 1 swipe to get the same smudge off. Now this is a lens pen. One side has a brush, which you use to brush the dust off before you swipe it with the pad, and the other side has a dense pad that is infused with graphite powder. Now, it's the graphite powder that is the secret with this, because as you rub it over the smudge, the graphite are tiny microscopic spheres which roll over the lens, and as they roll through the grime, they pick it up and fall away. So just 1 wipe of this will get rid of a smudge that 2 or 3 wipes of a microfiber cloth will need, and maybe 5 or 6 of a t-shirt would need. So the idea about cleaning lenses is only clean it when you have to, and try to minimize the amount of times you're wiping it. This is the way that you can minimize contact with the lens, using a lens pen. Now these usually cost, the cheapest I've seen, these are about $10. They're usually between $15 and $20. The important thing to note about the lens pen is that the graphite powder in that tip is stored in the cap. So if you lose the cap, this becomes useless in about 2 weeks. You're just moving the smudge around. You'll see it. So if you lose that, get a whole new pen. This should last you about 3 months, 4 months, well, at least 3 months. It depends how grubby you are. Yeah, lens pen. If you ever, or those of you with an SLR camera like this one, it's a good idea to have your camera regularly cleaned if you're not, if you don't want to do it yourself. You can clean your cameras yourselves, but getting it professionally cleaned, a technician can do things to it that you can't, that I wouldn't recommend you try anyway, especially sensor cleaning. Now, if you start to notice spots on your shot that are because of dust sitting on the sensor, you do need to get it cleaned as quickly as you can, because if that dust cements itself there, getting it off might actually damage the pixel that it's sitting on. So the sooner you can get dust cleaned off your sensor, the better. It costs about $90 to have a sensor clean, and you can buy sensor cleaning kits yourself, but the disclaimer there is that you can actually damage your sensor if you do it incorrectly. So I would always recommend, if you've never done it before and you don't want to risk breaking the camera yourself, take it to a technician, because if they break it, they're covered and they can replace your camera for you. Storing your camera away. God forbid that you should ever have to store your camera away, because you should be using it, right? But if you do have to store it away somewhere, store it in a cool, dry place, preferably with this moisture-seeking silica gel packs. Now, you can buy silica gel from hardware stores, camera stores. I know some people use the little silica gel packets in shoe boxes. They're usually full by the time you get it, so they're not really working. If all else fails, I have used in the past a sock full of dry rice. That's better than nothing. How to hold your camera. Now, I mentioned before that holding the camera still is an important part of taking a good photo. Just in order for me to see what cameras we've got here and the various methods that we use to hold our camera when we take a shot, I want you now to take the best shot you can of me standing right here. I'll stand still, I'll even smile. Okay, you haven't got much time to do this. Quick. All right. A few different methods here. Good, time's up. You got to be quick in this business. If we pretend this is your camera, and this is actually a fairly decent camera, I'm surprised with phone cameras these days. Most point and clicks have a viewfinder on the back, which allows you to see what you're taking a photo of. And most people will hold their camera like this. Now, just watch my whole body here. How long do you think I can hold this like this before I start to shake? About 30 seconds is my maximum before I start to get tiny little shakes. And even after 10 seconds, there are even minute shakes. And even those little shakes make a difference, especially in low light. So this is okay as long as you take the shot right away and then you relax again. This is better. Elbows tucked into the side, so my shoulders aren't as strained. The only thing holding the camera up are my biceps, really. So nice and stable like this. This is even better. Holding it against your belly, especially if you've got a big belly, even better. This way, my shoulders are completely relaxed. There's no muscles holding this up except maybe this bicep muscle right there. So I can probably stand like this all day and not get the shakes. Those of you with SLR cameras, the SLR camera has a viewfinder which allows you to look through the lens and get your shot, but most SLRs also have the ability to have what's called live view, so you can use your camera like this. I recommend that if you have an SLR, don't use it like this because two reasons. The focus is much slower in this mode. When you turn that mode off and you look through the viewfinder, focus becomes lightning quick. That's only for SLRs, it doesn't apply for that camera. No, it doesn't apply for that camera. And if you do have the benefit of a viewfinder, putting it against your head adds perhaps 3 or 4 times more stability than you would holding it out here, here, or here. Because you've not only got your 2 arms holding it, you've got your whole spine supporting the camera. So that's increased stability all around. Something else you can do, if you take all of those methods and add this method to it, leaning up against something adds about 10 times more stability than standing up. 10 times, really it is 10 times. How many of you have ever had to take what we call a long arm shot? That shot where that one? How stable is this, do you think? Now, think about the time that you're usually going to take this kind of shot. It's late at night, it's a party, you might be drunk. That's going to be pretty shaky, isn't it? How can you add stability to this shot if you have to take it? Yeah, look at this. That now becomes as stable as doing that. Just by resting your arm against something motionless, like a wall or a post or someone's passed out. Do we know how to turn our flash off? Okay, that's great. Oh, first crowd that actually sort of knows how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, That's fine. I'm going to come around and show you because it is important. The flash is one of the biggest killers of natural light and ambience. When you're in automatic, most of the time, even if you step into a bright room, the camera will think, the person holding me is an idiot, so I'm just going to pop the flash up just in case. That's what it's saying to you. Come in. Hello. Sorry. Hello. Yeah. So in order to capture what your eyes see of a scene, if you want to capture it exactly the way you see it with your own eyes, you need to be able to turn the flash off. So you look for that symbol. Look for the flash symbol first on the back of your camera. Hit that button and it will give you various options. And the option you want is designated by that symbol. Don't be afraid. Not many people know how to do this. So tell me if you've never done this before and I'll come and show you. Here we go. It is important, so I don't mind spending time with this. Okay. Gee, you guys are good. This usually takes up most of the time. Now this is a time cure as well. How many of you know how to switch between your different scene modes? Most of you do. Who doesn't know how to do it? Okay. All we've got to do is find the scene menu. Now for some of you it'll be as simple, if you have an SLR camera you can switch between your scene modes just by turning the dial to say portrait, landscape, macro and so forth. So it's just a simple exercise of choosing which position on the dial. For some of you, you'll have a dial with the word scene on it, or SCN. They mean the same thing. If you have a Fuji, does anyone have a Fuji here? Fuji call it SP for scene position. Scene, switch it to that part, then hit the menu button and it will give you these options. All of these different little pictures. And they stand for a scene mode. And the scene modes we want to be able to choose between are portrait, landscape, sports, night. If you have fireworks, I'll even show you what you can do with fireworks mode. Party and indoor, don't worry about that so much. All I really want are portrait, landscape, sports, and night mode. And night portrait mode if you have it. We'll cover that as well. That's a particularly handy one. Is anyone struggling to get into their scene menu? I'll come in. Okay, here we go.